Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Christina Chanya Lenjo, and here is where I talk about general psychosocial issues and their impact on our mental health. Today I'll be talking about alcohol, booze. We don't really think much about what alcohol does to our systems because it's a legal drug, it's a commonly abused substance, and as long as you're 18 and you make the choice to, you can access it easily and no one will question you. But what does it do to our system, our body systems, if we become chronic users of alcohol? Number one, the brain. Alcohol will shrink our brain cells, which means that you can develop dementia early on in life. It also affects how you learn, how you think, and even your memory. Alcohol affects our livers. Remember, livers break down all the alcohol that we consume. So our livers handle a large amount of toxins. So when we overload our livers with alcohol, it means that we're overworking our livers, and so our livers eventually become fatty. They develop thick and fibrous tissues, which means that blood is not able to pump through the liver cells, which means that the liver cells will not receive the nutrients that they need to be able to function, which means that the liver ends up developing scar tissues from the dead cells that develop as a result, which means that we get cirrhosis. We've all heard about cirrhosis. Alcohol affects our pancreas, so we will get pancreatic inflammation, or what we call pancreatitis. It will also induce diabetes. So we've heard about alcohol-induced diabetes is because the pancreas is compromised due to chronic alcohol consumption. It also increases the risk of getting pancreatic cancer. Our stomachs are also affected. So alcohol irritates our stomach lining. We end up producing so much acid, which basically erodes our stomach lining, resulting in stomach ulcers. At the same time, our stomachs produce a lot of acid as a result. So you tend to get a lot of nausea and vomiting as the body tries to get rid of the excess acid and the alcohol. And at the same time, when you have high acidity in your stomach, you tend to feel less hungry. You get this feeling of fullness. So you tend to feel less hungry, which means that you not eat, meaning that you lose out on the nutrients that food provide to our bodies, which means that you become malnourished. And that is why you find alcoholics usually don't eat a lot of food, or actually they don't eat. And so they become very weak. Alcohol affects our hearts. They affect the rhythm of the heart. So basically they interfere with the electrical signals that ensure that our hearts beat in a certain way. We have a steady rhythm. So if that happens chronically, it means that basically our hearts will be affected, and therefore we'll always have issues with the rhythm of our hearts. At the same time, alcohol damages the muscles of the heart, so the heart tends to enlarge, meaning that it cannot pump blood throughout our bodies, which means, of course, the body organs will be affected if blood cannot reach all parts of our bodies. Alcohol also affects our reproductive systems. So women, let me start with women. It interferes with our hormonal balance, which means that we'll suffer from hormonal imbalance, meaning that our cycles will be interfered with, so we'll have problems with conceiving. Now, pregnant women, I have to mention this. When a pregnant woman consumes alcohol, the fetus that this woman is carrying will receive 7 times the dosage of alcohol that the mother has consumed. Imagine, 7 times. It is staggering. So let's think about it this way. A pregnant woman takes a tot of whiskey. It means the fetus she's carrying will have taken 7 tots of whiskey. And that's why women give birth to drunk babies. And then, of course, these babies have got, they have a high risk of developing fetal alcohol syndrome, which means that they're born with birth defects, mental retardation, physical defects, you name it. It's very sad. It's very sad. So there's no safe dose of alcohol for a pregnant woman. So a pregnant woman needs to just not take alcohol. Men, on the other hand, chronic consumption of alcohol will affect your reproductive health if you're a man. Your testicles will shrink, literally. You will suffer from erectile dysfunction. You will suffer from low sperm count, which means you become impotent, infertile. You cannot be able to make a woman pregnant. And not forgetting that because of the disruption in the way that your hormones work, men can also develop breasts. So they'll start growing breasts. Well, men, think about it. Other parts that, body parts that actually alcohol affects all body parts, but I'll just talk about a few. Alcohol also affects our kidneys. So our kidneys have got this hormone, there are certain hormones in our bodies that are produced, or a certain hormone in our body that is produced to ensure that kidneys produce urine in a certain way. So alcohol basically interferes with the production of this hormone such that now our kidneys keep producing urine, which means we get more dehydrated, which means our kidneys are more overworked, which then means that eventually the kidneys will wear out, resulting in kidney failure, kidney damage. It's not an interesting thing. Alcohol affects our skeletal system, which means that the calcium levels or the calcium stores are depleted. And so our bones become very fragile and become porous because you're not able to produce new bone, which then means that we can develop osteoporosis. We're also more prone to getting fractures. It also affects, alcohol affects our muscles. So our muscles don't receive the protein that they need to be able to, just become strong. So you'll tend to see that alcoholics usually look very frail and they have got weak muscles. That is the reason why. Alcohol affects our hearing. So it affects how we perceive sound and also just how we experience sound. So we can suffer from hearing loss if you're chronic alcohol users. Our immune system is also compromised when you take too much alcohol, which means that alcohol interferes in the way that the white blood cells are produced, and so we cannot be able to fight off germs or infection. That's why you find that if you binge drink, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, you tend to get a cold. Yeah, it's because of that. Yeah. And alcoholics, you'll find that they usually get a lot of pneumonias and a lot of tuberculosis because of the fact that the immune systems are compromised. It also affects our skins because of the dehydration aspect. We tend to actually lose a lot of water. Our skins become too dry and then we age faster. We look like we are old. Yeah. And lastly, as a matter of interest, alcohol actually affects women differently, as compared to men. So women tend to actually suffer more organ damage or more severe damage quicker than men. Yeah. And the reason for this is because women have less of the enzyme that breaks down alcohol. Women also have a lot of body fat, so they tend to retain alcohol. Yeah. Fat retains alcohol, so that is what happens in a woman's body. And then women have got less water, so which means that the alcohol that they consume is not dispersed. Yeah. Now, what all this means is that the absorption of alcohol becomes slow in women. So women have got a high alcohol blood content, yeah, which means that the toxins from alcohol will stay in a woman's body longer than they would stay in a man's body. And which means that the woman will also have a high risk of progressing into addiction as compared to a man who has probably drunk the same amount of alcohol as this woman and has drunk that alcohol within the same duration as this woman. So it's very, very important to take note of that. Remember that the impact that alcohol has on our systems obviously depends on our body size. I've mentioned about the gender aspect. It also depends on how rapidly you consume the alcohol, if you have food in your digestive system, if you're consuming alcohol with other substances. So I'll stop there. I wish I could talk more about this. It's just a sneak peek, but think about it and take care of your physical health as well as your mental health. Thank you so much and see you next time.